we're joined now by Ricky's mum, Sukhdev, and Suresh Grover, a civil liberties and human rights campaigner. Sukhdev, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, I'm sure, although it's 25 years, it still must feel very raw to you because you haven't, in your mind, had justice. If you don't mind, and I know it's important to because you're hoping that there is more information out there, can you take us back to that evening 25 years ago and the moment when you first heard or came to know that your son was indeed missing, if not found?
On the 14th of October 1997, Ricky went out with some 3 Asian friends out to Kingston, and he promised me he'd be home by 1, and Ricky always kept his word. So when 1 o'clock came, I didn't hear anything from him. I started ringing him. The phone calls kept on going to voicemail. Then I started ringing the police stations and hospitals, thinking maybe he was involved in a road traffic accident. So this continued whole night, and I knew Ricky was in sort of trouble because that's very unlikely that Ricky says something and he doesn't do it. I phoned my local police station and they refused to come. They said he's over the age of 18. We are not interested. Wait for 24 hours, and if he still doesn't come, then call us. Then I phoned them again. They said they'll send a police officer. The police officer, after a lot of shouting from one of the officers at the police station, the officer did come and he spoke. I gave him the numbers and everything, and he spoke to Ricky's friends. Now, the strange thing is, it was the police officer who told me that Ricky and his friends were racially attacked and then turned around and said, I'm not taking a statement. You would have to wait for 24 hours. Now, even an idiot would know if the 4 people go together and they are racially attacked, 3 people come back, the one that's missing is in danger. But they didn't want to know. So we went to Kingston Police and we repeated the same thing. Instead of saying, we'll take a statement, the police officer turned around and said, well, you Asian people, you always arrange your children's marriages. Maybe you were doing that, and he decided to run away.
Sorry, just repeat that bit again. He said what about arranged
He said,
marriages? You Asians
always arrange your children's marriages. Maybe you were trying to arrange a marriage for Ricky, and he decided to run away. Then he said...
based on nothing at all.
Nothing. They didn't know Ricky.
And what did you get a feel? I mean, it's shocking to hear that. But did you get a feeling he was saying that as a joke in order to be part of an investigation to see if he could expose something? I mean, why would someone say that at a moment of great fear for you?
Yeah, he was abusing me. He was abusing my race. He was abusing me as an Asian woman standing there questioning him. And then he turned around and he said, well, you never know, your son may be gay. So that was...
What did he mean by that? What was the sense of that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Speaking of Suresh Grover, you've been a big supporter of the family here, and people may well know some of your work. You've, in the past, stood up for civil liberties and people's rights. This is an extraordinary case. It's worth saying there is no evidence at the moment that there's been an open verdict delivered on Ricky's situation.
Yes, because the police argued it was an accident, but actually the coroner left it as an open verdict, which was neither saying that it wasn't an accident, as you believe, nor was saying it was, which casts doubt both ways, doesn't it?
It casts doubt both ways, but had the investigation been thorough, had they investigated the racial attack and then followed it from there, I'm convinced the jury in that inquest would have come with an unlawful verdict. Because the second investigation, after the Lawrence case, the same department in the Metropolitan Police, the Race and Violence Task Force, actually did carry out a second investigation. Bit more thorough, but they were always impeded by the lack and the litany of failures in the first investigation. This is a scene where somebody is found in water, River Thames. It's not a static scene. You have to collect the forensics immediately. You have to follow them for the first week very thoroughly, collate the evidence. They didn't do it. So it's not somebody who's been stabbed on the street. If you don't do it, as a police officer, you know that you're always going backwards.
So Suresh, what are you asking for now? What do you want to see happen now?
This family deserves a new look into the case, a new, fresh investigation. We have a new Metropolitan Commissioner who should read Sukhdev's book. This is a mother's cry for help. mother who has become a warrior for justice because she's been left with no choice.
Sukhdev, are you confident? Are you confident, though? People talk about Mark Rowley. It's going to be a fresh change in this police force. We've heard from so many cases of injustice over the years. Are you confident that you will get a fair inquiry, even if there was one now?
That's the reason we are asking him to meet us. We have written him 3 letters asking for a meeting so we can discuss the concerns and see what he says, because he's so hot on racism that he has new technology and he's going to fight, to reduce the crime. Right. Ricky's case is an unsolved crime, and he has a duty to, to do it, to deal with it.
Can I ask you about you briefly to end? You're a mum dealing with unimaginable grief, and to have to keep fighting for this through this. What has that been like for you? And do you feel that there's been enough change that it wouldn't happen today?
As a mum, I carry on fighting, not only for myself, but for everybody else, so that the attitudes the police had towards me can change. As a mum, we've been living really a shattered life. I have been campaigning and on the road for the last 25 years. I've lost a lot of family time simply due to the negligence of the police. Had they investigated this case thoroughly, then, we wouldn't be sitting here. And my children have lost so much of my own time. Sometimes I just look at it and I think, well, they had this, they had that, where has that gone? And this is all in the book.
Yeah, well, look, you make it so powerfully, but we can hear in your voice the grief and the pain that is still there. We should say that the Metropolitan Police has issued a new appeal, and in a statement said it hopes this will encourage people to come forward with any piece of information they may have. Let's hope that that is the case, and let's hope you can get some peace.
Well, I hope so, because every time I start trusting them, thrown another blow, like spine.
Well, we wish you well.
Thank you.
With dealing with your grief, and it's sad that you have to be here, but thank you for sharing your story. Thank you.
Sukhdev and Suresh Grover.